I'm figuring out how to set this so that it works, but I think it works. Can everybody hear me in the back? Great. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I am so happy to see this packed room with such amazing people. My name is Ricardo Negron Almodovar. I'm the Senior Florida Campaign Manager with All Voting Local. And I'm just so happy that we are able to host this, what's going to be a phenomenal conversation with our supervisors of elections. So please welcome me in introducing our host today, Orange County Supervisor of Elections, Karen Castro-Dento. Our Seminole County Supervisor of Elections, Amy Pennock. And our Osceola County Supervisor of Elections, Mary Jane Arrington. Thank you all so much for taking time of what I know is an incredible busy time to be here with us and sharing all the information that you have for our voters, which between the three of you, it's over 1.3 million active registered voters right now. So it is. So I think we can just go straight ahead, and I'll start with Supervisor Pennock since you're right next to me. What will be new for voters in Seminole County this cycle?
Well, we've made a lot of changes in Seminole County over the last year and several months. I'm going to say probably our biggest change is we are going to implement at our main location only drive-through voting. So if someone is not comfortable dropping their ballot off, don't want to get out of the car because it's raining, we will have a secure ballot intake station at our main location under a tent where you'll be able to drive through our main location and drop off your ballot and know that it has been securely delivered to our site. That's probably the biggest change people will see.
That's awesome, and that's going to be at the Supervisor of Elections main office.
Correct.
Take note for my Seminole folks out. Supervisor Castro-Dento.
Okay, so same question. Well, for voters in Orange County, I think the biggest change is going to be the county commission districts, since we added 2, and it kind of created an effect where all of our precincts in Orange County have new numbers. Some people have new polling places, so I think that is going to be one of the biggest changes. We've added some additional polling places and precincts, and then we will be getting a new website that will be going live soon. And then for early voting, we've added 6 additional polling locations. So that's exciting.
Awesome. And Supervisor Arrington, the same question.
In Osceola County, early voting is really popular, and we do sometimes have lines at some early voting locations. We have 9, but this year we're increasing that by 2 additional. So we'll have 11, and hopefully that will make the lines dissipate quickly if we have one, and it'll be more convenient for our voters on the very eastern portion of the county and the very western portion of the county.
Awesome. That's great to hear. We're going to talk more about early voting in a little bit. I'm super biased toward early voting. I love early voting in person. So before we move on, so we talk about what's going to be new. What do you think are going to be some challenges for voters this cycle? And we can start with Supervisor Arrington.
Well, I think voters are semi-informed, and they think the legislature passed some really sweeping changes in the forms of ID that we take at the polling locations. And I think they think that's in effect for this election, and it is not. Everything stays the same as far as IDs that you can present when you go to vote for this election. Not in 2 years, but right now, we're good to go. I also think that the redistricting that we're going through could be challenging on election day if your polling location changes. Because remember, in Florida, on election day, you must vote at your assigned polling location, no options. So I think that is something we're going to have to contend with.
I agree about the confusion around some of the recent legislation, specifically House Bill 991, that did pass and the governor did sign it, but it goes into effect in January. So as Supervisor Arrington mentioned, the ID that we use in this upcoming midterm will still be the same. Student ID will still be allowed. If you're a senior at a neighborhood association or facility, you can still use your senior ID that you have, that would still be available. And then just the quick time frame that we have to work under for redistricting, I think is going to be a challenge too.
I think in addition to what these ladies said is there's a big concern about the changes that the post office has made when it comes to their date stamping the mail. And so one of the challenges is us getting out accurate information to make sure everybody knows your ballot has to be in our hands by 7:00 election night. Whether you get your vote by mail in the mail and you personally drop it off, or you allot enough time at the post office to get it back to us by that time. And so I think all of us are really working on over communicating with all of our voters to make sure you have the most accurate information so that you can be an informed voter the way that you want to vote.
I'm very glad that you talk about vote by mail and the postmarks, because I've been to many community events where, because of the national conversation on whether ballots that are postmarked are allowed or they're not, and there was some confusion. But here in Florida, the postmark is not something that counts for the vote by mail ballot. It has to be received, for Orange County, it has to be here, this office, by 7 p.m. on election day. So definitely talking more about clarifying those to counter any misinformation that there might be out there about when the ballot has to be in. And speaking of vote by mail, that's actually the next topic. Vote by mail is very popular in Florida, very popular in Seminole, in Orange, in Osceola. About a fourth of the voters in Orange County actually vote by mail here with Orange, Osceola, and Seminole, and that's over, in 2024, that was over 250,000 voters that between the three counties voted by mail. So what are your offices doing to ensure, one, that voters know about what we call the vote by mail reset, which means that after the general election, every vote by mail request expired. And if someone, even if they voted in 2024 by mail, they still have to re-request that for this cycle. What is your office doing to ensure people know that?
So for Seminole County, we traditionally have about 62,000 people that like to vote by mail. And about a month ago, we pulled our statistics and had about 15,000 voters that had requested their vote by mail. So we decided to do a mail piece, and we strategically mailed out to everyone who votes by vote by mail and doesn't have an active registration for vote by mail. And in the last 3 weeks, we have processed 15,500 vote by mail applications. So we are now at about halfway of our regular registered voter list. And so we're getting ready to push out a second targeted piece through Ballot Tracks, which is the Track My Ballot system that will allow you to get information a different way, not necessarily a postcard. And then a second way, we are right now specifically targeting all of our retirement homes so that we can really make sure those individuals who are living in a retirement home are aware of supervised voting and the ability to renew your vote by mail, and then also have a supervised voting experience at your retirement facility. So over the past 2 weeks, we visited about 7 facilities, and we have several more to go. And it has been a very successful and very much appreciated by the voters in the facilities.
That is great. You mentioned Ballot Tracks. Could you speak a little bit more about what that is? Because I'm not sure if everybody knows that you can actually track the status of your vote by mail.
Sure. So if you request vote by mail, you can also sign up for Ballot Tracks. And what you will get is a notification when your vote by mail has been mailed. It will also give you a notification when that vote by mail has been received by our office, once you've mailed it back or dropped it off. And it will also notify you once your vote by mail has been cast. So you have very great assurity that your ballot has not been lost in the mail, but it has actually gone through the entire process. So highly recommend that you sign up for that free service. And it's on everybody's website, I do believe, on all the SOE's websites.
Thank you so much.
Well, to just as a comparison, in Orange County in 2024, we sent out about 175,000 vote by mail ballots, and we had about 150,000 people vote by mail. And as far as requests, right now we're about 60,000 requests for this upcoming midterm. So we have a long way to go to really continue to inform people. And I like to tell them that the easiest way to request your vote by mail ballot is to call our office. You talk to a live person right away. They pull up your record. They ask you any questions about your driver's license or any other information that we need to update. And then we make sure that you are on the list. And our phone number, it's 407 36, almost at 836 2070 2070. But that really is the easiest way for most people. And then we have a lot of mail that we send out, and we include on there QR codes and information to sign up. We sent out a new voter information card. It had it on there as well. And after redistricting, we'll send it out yet again so that we will continue to push the vote by mail.
I love how you looked at me for your phone number.
I don't call myself.
In Osceola County, we have tried texting, emailing everyone that had a request during the last election. We had 60,000 mail ballots we sent out. Right now, we're under 20,000 in new requests, which is it's sorry. I mean, we got to pay attention. We have to do better. So our voters like paper, we've learned. So right now, as we speak this week, we are mailing out a mailer to every voter in Osceola County, encouraging them to develop a plan to vote, whatever their choice is. But vote by mail is really easy if you're really busy. So we're going to, and we have included in this packet that we've sent them the state form, which the state now requires that if you request a mail ballot, it has to be on the state form with your identifying number. So that is included with an envelope, postage prepaid for them to mail back to us. When you vote by mail, it is the most cost-efficient way for a voter to vote because you know that the voter most likely is going to mail it back to you. So we're hoping with this push to everyone that we will get up to that 60,000.
Something that's also come up regarding vote by mail is that our Florida ID numbers change. If we go update or get a new driver license or Florida state ID. Now, if folks are processing their vote by mail request, that number might not match what's in their voter record. Have you seen that impact the requests that are coming into your office? And so, what are you doing to address it?
We've had conversations with the Orange County tax collector about communicating when people come and update their license, that when they're asking them, do you want us to update your registration, that the answer is yes, even though you haven't moved or changed political party, because then it does transfer over. But if you call our office, then we are able, if you're asking for a vote by mail ballot, we're able to update your new driver's license number. If you're just calling and saying, I want to update it, it doesn't actually work that way because of our statutes and election code. But if you call and say, I want to request a vote by mail ballot, we can update then your new driver's license number. And most people, I think, have already had the opportunity to update, I think, or at least most people have. But I'll let you
Well, we've done the same thing. We've had conversations with our local tax collector, and we're starting a Just Say Yes campaign where we will have flyers in our tax collector's office. So when you go and you're there to do anything, it's an informational piece that just says, I'm here to update my driver's license or ID. Say yes to updating your driver's license information in your voter registration. Hopefully, working with them will help get that information out on the front line. We've also pushed out a lot of communication to just remind people, if you think that you've changed your ID in the past 3 or 4 years, go ahead and call us and get your voter registration information up to date. It doesn't hurt anything. My team will love to talk to you and make sure that it's up to date.
And if you do have to submit a request that the numbers don't match, it doesn't stop there. We reach back out to you. We also go on the state system. The state has a system that we can verify these numbers to make sure that voters do have the right identifying number.
To add to that, if you have, as long as you have a valid driver's license, though, you'll still be able to vote. Yeah, so that doesn't preclude you from actually voting if you haven't updated your new number with us. That really affects your vote by mail request.
That's a great clarification. So it does not impact if you are still voting in person. It's for the vote by mail request. This question might be a little bit too technical, but have you had conversations with the United States Postal Service about their changes in delivery standards and how that might impact outgoing election mail and the ballots coming back in?
We have an excellent relationship with our local postmaster and regional, and they have worked with us in the years past to make sure mail ballots get to us by 7 o'clock on election day. And so we continue that. As far as on the federal level, no, we have not had discussion. We do a lot of praying.
We also have a good relationship with our local postal service, and I know that they prioritize election mail. And if you've seen the ballots or election mail, it has an official election stamp on their logo. That's to identify for the postal service to handle this as a priority. So they do prioritize election mail.
We also have a great working relationship, and our expansion, which I'm sure is the same with these SOE's office, but I think it needs to be said, is we don't stop at vote by mail issues. When we send out list maintenance information and we get a lot of return letters, we also work with our post office to make sure that they know this is a valid street. We've sent out polling location agreements, and we have one church that every single year it gets returned because the post office can't find it and they're on really busy street. And so we collect those pieces of information and we share it with the postmaster so that they can do education on their side. So it doesn't just stop at election time. We're working consistently with them during list maintenance to make sure that we have the most accurate information when it comes to our voters, and that their side isn't not delivering or is returning information that we send out in a manner that they shouldn't.
Thank you. We are now switching gears to in-person voting, whether that's early, my favorite, or on election day. In-person early voting is not just my favorite, also a favorite for the voters in the 3 counties. Over 500,000 voters combined vote early between Seminole, Osceola, and Orange County. Knowing this and taking into account that there could be an increase in more in-person voting because of the vote by mail changes, or just people prefer to vote in person now versus by mail. What steps are you taking to make early voting sustainable, ensure more access, and avoid long lines?
As I said earlier, we've added 2 early voting sites. All of our early voting sites are good-sized buildings with plenty of parking, and that is really important, that you have accessible parking for voters to be able to get in and get out quickly. We're busy, and we don't need to be hunting a parking place. We also try to make sure that we are staffed enough at each location to make sure that voters, once they get in, we can process them in a quick manner.
I guess the biggest impact is just simply adding 6 new locations for early voting and making sure that they're in areas that haven't been represented in the past. So we have one out in Bithlo for the first time, and we have more that are in the center of the county and even in the west. So we hope that will help address some of the long lines that we experienced in 2024. I know that when I look at our statistics, half of our voters voted early in the general, and that was a big increase over the previous election. So it was kind of hard to predict which will be people's preferred method. During COVID, a lot of people voted by mail. And now, who knows with this latest environment outside of elections, how people will choose to vote. But we're ready for all different ways that they want to vote. We have in Orange County about 265 regular polling places, and then we also have 28 on election day. We have adopt a precinct groups that help us, and then early voting we use a seasonal staff to help us with that. But we are increasing the number of staff at certain polling places where we've had some lines or challenges, and we're just going to be vigilant.
I think Seminole County is a little bit unique because we are not as land widespread as Osceola and Orange County. We're quite compact. So our focus really has been making sure we have a great amount of staff in our early voting locations. So we have been focusing on our partners in democracy, where we're targeting some of our youth groups in our high schools to get in there and help the process. Sometimes bringing in new eyes can give you new ideas through a throughput issue that you may have. And so we're looking at bringing in some youth groups. I don't know if you followed the news, but there's a lot of funding challenges with our school system. And so if we can pay our partners in democracy, our youth groups like our beta clubs, our debate clubs, our SGA clubs to come in and help us in elections. It gets the younger youth involved, engaged, want to be present and active. And it also gives us a second set of eyes to say, hey, let's think about doing this a little bit different. We are purchasing additional equipment so that we can make sure we are outfitted and have enough capacity at all of our early locations. And we've looked at some alternative sites. Unfortunately, one of our early locations is no longer available, so we do have to make a shift. And that's always a challenge in of itself, but we are working with our municipality partnerships to make sure that we're getting it in the right place so that it is easy. Right now we're going through all of our ADA audits. If you're not aware, we have to do ADA accessible audits for all the voting locations. And we're going through those right now. And we have some really great partners that really want to be available in this process. And so we thank those partners that help us deliver elections, early voting and day of.
Thank you for sharing. If there were longer lines, do you have accommodations for individuals that cannot stand in line, might require to either be seated and wait, or is that something that you're incorporating into your planning?
We will be educating. We haven't started our training yet, but in our training, we will be educating our team that if you do identify a pregnant woman or someone with a disability or someone that's challenged, because here in Florida, we have elections during hurricane season, it could be hot, it could be rainy. And so we have deputies that are going to be out there. Hopefully we'll have more students that will be out there to help identify these individuals that may need to go ahead and get moved to the front of the line because they have challenges.
We also use a ticket process where when someone comes up where they would be in line, we can ask them or allow them to, we give them the ticket and the person who's next to them in line. And then when that person gets to the door, that person who needed to rest or have a seat is then allowed to get in line. So they can kind of take a seat and wait instead of standing in line.
And we do much the same as Orange. Someone can hold your place in line till you get to or they get to the door.
There's additionally, we all have, I'm gonna call it wrong, but we do have disability accessible machines that you can vote on. You do need to request it when you show up to vote, but you have the ability to vote. It still creates a paper ballot, but it allows you to have audio of the ballot read to you so that you are able to vote in a manner that's best for you.
Speaking of voter accessibility, something that I forgot to bring up when we were talking about vote by mail is the accessible vote by mail program. Have you seen those requests coming in? Is that something that's advertised? How is that processed?
We try to make voters aware that they can have what we call an accessible ballot. The problem we have is we get hundreds and hundreds of requests for them because when people read the information, they think they have a ticket to vote online, and they don't understand that you have to go through a process, that you have to print your ballot and mail it back, and it's not going to be in the envelope we provide where postage is paid. And so then voters are frustrated. So when we get so many, and I mean, we get hundreds and hundreds of these, we call each person to make sure they understand what an accessible ballot is.
I know that we had about 1,000 accessible vote by mail requests in the last election, and about 10 people were able to return them. Well, chose to return them.
We, same as Mary Jane, had a very large request for them in previous years and have done a campaign to educate people on what that means. And we've seen a reduction in those requests this year. So they're more informed, they understand what they're asking for, and hopefully it will make it an easier process for them and for our staff.
Thank you. Going back to in-person voting, we briefly mentioned this because of redistricting, but separate to redistricting, were you anticipating polling changes from usual locations this year?
We do have some polling location changes due to some of the legislative changes. Some of our churches don't necessarily feel comfortable in being a location, and so we've had to shift to finding a different location that better fits our voters' needs.
I think the majority of our changes happened during the county commission redistricting, and we are in the process right now of determining whether or not we will have to make some changes for the congressional redistricting. There's still a lot of unknowns for that right now.
We are having polling location changes because of construction. We have some buildings that we have historically used that are being renovated and restored. So we're having to find new locations for them. We are lucky that we've been able to do that. And in Osceola County, we believe that voters need to be at least notified 3 times before they pay attention. So we will be sending out 3 different types of notices to each voter if their polling location is changed.
That's great. Just 3 times? Third time's the charm, yes. Hurricane season was mentioned, and it's a good, and now we should talk about emergency preparedness, because we do see how some neighborhoods are impacted more than others, and what measures are in place to ensure the safety of the equipment and the accessibility to voting sites in case there were a weather emergency, a natural disaster, or another emergency.
All of us have emergency plans that we review every year and are in place and ready to go if something happens. I would tell you historically throughout the state of Florida, when an emergency has happened, other counties come to your aid. The working relationship of the 67 counties is amazing. So if you need equipment, they'll bring you equipment. With the Division of Elections, they have tents and things like that you can, use. And so the inner workings, this is one place where we really work well together. And but we all have plans in place.
I know I've heard the stories from the staff who've been in the office since I've only been here a year and 5 months, and have not really experienced a hurricane during elections. And I know that the staff in the past, they've been able to secure all of the tabulation machines and ballots and put them on trucks and get them out of harm's way. And then we open up polling places once it's been deemed safe, and then just work with the media, the teams over here. We work with the media to help get the word out about any of the polling places that might have received damage, and just try to inform people that way.
We all work very closely with our sheriff's department and our emergency ops teams, who always are on standby to provide generators or any other kind of equipment that we may need. We have pop-up voting sites, so if we can't open up in a building, we can still pop up in the same location with the tent and the equipment, and all of that is ready. And so it is a great working relationship that is built not just during election time, but throughout the year and on an ongoing basis with everyone in our community that helps to keep the community running.
I will add that no matter what, elections will go on. Even if there's a hurricane bearing down, elections will still occur. If they have to be pushed back a few days, then the governor will let us know we're going to extend it a few days, but elections will take place.
Sometimes because of an emergency, voters are displaced, and they don't always have access to their important documents, their IDs, or their ballots, right? Because if you have to leave your home, you're not thinking of running away with your ballot, right? What measures are in place to ensure that those displaced because of an emergency are still able to obtain and to cast their ballots?
We have this wonderful thing called a provisional ballot that we can use if everything is not complete in a voter's situation. So if they have lost their ID or they can't find it or it's been misplaced, then they could vote a provisional ballot, and we will use their signature of record to make sure that you prove their identity.
We're also able to monitor if someone had requested a vote by mail ballot, but they haven't voted it yet, and they want to come and instead vote in person or vote early. We still have record that they have not turned it in, or if they have, we can remind them, no, you already mailed it back. But we were able to give that up to the minute information of whether they have already cast a ballot or not. So they're still able if we're still around.
And always call our offices if you have any questions. It is important. We do want you to vote, and we know you want to vote. And you have any challenges, call our offices. We are here to help you make sure that you get to cast your ballot.
Absolutely, and I know that many of the partners here have throughout the years when there is an emergency, you have worked very hard in advocating so that there's more flexibility for your offices to be able to tend to all the voters' needs. I'd like now to talk a little bit about safety at the polls, both for the election staff and for voters. What measures are in place to ensure the safety of election workers and voters at the polls?
In Seminole County, we actually have a meeting with our sheriff department in the next week so that we can talk about what his office does for us during elections, what our office needs to provide to them. In the past, there's been challenges with officers not necessarily knowing election laws, especially when it comes to campaigning at a polling location. And so we have a wonderful little guide that we all have access to that we're printing to give to our sheriff so that he can give out to his deputies if there's ever any challenges or questions. And so we're talking with him and his group about what his team does. What are they keeping eyes on? Is there something going on in a community that may impact a polling location that we need to be made aware of? So on election day, we can get information out to our voters, or if we need to get extra people out there to help support. But it really is a team effort with our sheriff's department, his team, to make sure we're aware of safety measures that he's taking and watching, and what we can do on our end to make sure our voters and our election workers and staff feel safe.
We also work with our sheriff's department, and something else we do is they monitor any kind of threat that they may hear, some chatter, and they can let us know if there's anything else we should be watching out for. And we always teach or train our poll workers some basic safety, but we're going to enhance it this time around and give them more steps to take if they encounter any certain kind of threat, or if they receive information from a voter about something they experienced on the way in. We're going to let them know what we can do and who to contact.
We also work close with our sheriff's department. We are not as fortunate as some counties, but we have to have some polling locations in schools. And this also is another area of heightened security that we have to work at. We meet with the school system and go over how to lock down the school if we need to. And we had to do that one time, and we did well. We got a good passing grade. We also use the sheriff's department to escort our workers back with live ballots at the end of early voting every night. And this also gives them a sense of security that they know that the sheriff will be there to help them, to follow them as they bring the live ballots back to our office. In my tenure, we've only had to call the sheriff twice in those years, and both times they were there within seconds, not minutes, seconds. So they also provide additional patrolling around polling locations during early voting.
We know weapons are not allowed inside the polling place here in Florida. However, individuals may carry weapons outside the no electioneering zone, the 150 feet zone around the voting location. This could have the potential to make voters feel intimidated. Is this something that you're taking into consideration as you're making your safety plans?
It absolutely is, and we never want any voter to feel intimidated for any reason, whether it's from a weapon, from a campaign supporter, any reason. We do not want anyone to feel intimidated. So it is a discussion that we're having with the sheriff's department. It's a training consideration that when we're training our elections workers, we're having those talks. What do you feel comfortable with? And it allows us to put them in the right location. Are you the right person to have as a deputy because you're the one that's going to see the person with the weapon first, and are you the right person to deliver the message that how we're going to handle that situation? there's a lot of things that we don't talk about publicly because we don't talk about everything so that but we want you to trust that we are looking at every measure to make sure every election worker, every staff member, every voter, every community member, every campaigner feels safe, because it does extend out to those people that are out waving signs and doing their civic duty to make sure a message is getting out.
Well, this is a tricky question because outside the polling place, in Florida, it's legal to carry that. So, however, it is against the law. It's illegal to intimidate voters as well. So, how do you assign the intent of the person with the weapon? Are they just expressing their Second Amendment, or are they actually trying to intimidate a voter? I don't know. And that's kind of where the community groups, I think, come into play. This is a role where you all can help us be the eyes and ears on election day while we are working on making sure the polling places are operating and everyone has a chance to cast a ballot. If there is a concern outside that 150 perimeter, that can be communicated. I think there should be some kind of coordination so that we can protect voters and make sure that they know their options in voting. If they are feeling intimidated, maybe they can come back another time, go to a different place, vote by mail. So let them know they do have options, and that there's also phone numbers that they can call to notify people that this is happening.
And again, our number one goal is that everybody who's eligible to vote gets to vote. It's a good voting experience, and that's what we want them to have. The 150-foot zone, 150 feet is a good distance from the door to the polling location. Hopefully, voters, if this were a situation, voters could get in and out without having to encounter the person outside the 150-foot zone. But again, it is a sticky wicket, and it's something we hope we don't have to deal with.
Supervisor Castadental, you mentioned about the need to have our community groups out there being the eyes and ears. And I know that a lot of the folks here in the room actually do that through the Election Protection Coalition, where we train volunteers to be outside the 150-foot zone, help us identifying if there's any issues that voters are facing, that people around the polling locations are, misbehaving. So yes, that element is going to be out there, present. Orange, definitely Orange, Seminole, Osceola are counties that we are going to be at. So you can expect hearing from us during election day. And the other thing you mentioned was options. That's why we're hosting this today in May. We are literally just 3 months from the August primary and 6 months from the November general election. But we want our community organizations here to know what the communities that you are serving, that you're working with day to day, can expect, and how they can make their plan. Not wait until the voter registration deadline, not wait until the vote by mail request deadline, because there's a deadline for everything, right? Make a plan today, and the sooner you do it, the more options you have. You can vote by mail, you can vote early. You're voting early, there's traffic at one location, there's someone you see you don't like. You have, you're gonna have 27 other locations, right? You wait until election day, then unfortunately you are limited to just one location and just that 7 to 7 time frame. So thank you all so much for working to expand the options that our voters are gonna have these coming elections. Let me see. Let's talk about outreach, which I follow your social media. I know that you're all out there getting involved with the community and exploring new ways to making sure that the message gets out there. So what are those new approaches that you're taking to make sure that everybody knows what's happening?
Central Florida is growing. in case y'all haven't noticed. And we have voters that are here today that weren't here 2 years ago or 4 years ago. And they don't know how we do it here. You know, they're from somewhere else where they do it different. And so we try to be out in the community as much as we can. You invite us, we'll be there if we can get there. So don't wait too long, because our calendar fills up quickly this time of the year. And our goal is to make sure everybody knows how the options that are available to them and how to access them.
We have implemented a new program called our Outreach Ambassadors. I kind of jokingly call them our strike force. And they really help us in the community in voter registration events, and just being present. And we're able to really amplify what our office participates in by doing that. I think we've been to 60 additional community events with our ambassadors, and they're seasonal. So they're kind of our part-timers, but they really help supplement what we do in the office. And one other thing that we've done is rebrand, trying to get people's attention. You may have seen the bright orange letters on the front of the building. And even if you went, oh dear, look at that, we hope that we got your attention. So that is the purpose for the colors, and we don't want people to just kind of dismiss the elections office. So we have that. And also one thing that we are excited about is something that we just started last week. We purchased a vehicle to be used as a vote-mobile, which it's multi-purpose, but we'll be able to take it out into the community at festivals, and it kind of looks like a food truck and opens up, and we can, increase our visibility. We can use it to deliver equipment to polling places. We can set up a mobile voting place. We can use it as a shuttle to shuttle different people to and from, but we want to really increase the visibility of the office, and it'll have QR codes on it so people can sign up or register to vote while driving on I-4 or riding on I-4.
Don't let Karen drive. Don't let Karen drive.
Don't let Karen drive the bus.
We've done much of the same. In addition, what I did is in 2024 election, Seminole County underperformed state state turnout for the first time in more than 20 years. And so I really dug into the statistics, and I looked at the polling locations. I looked at the areas that had underperformed the state turnout, and we've kind of done a targeted campaign to do events in those areas. And that's been really welcoming. So we're going into areas that we've not been in before, or we've only attended in a parade, but we're going to a festival. We set up a tent and we're bringing our iPads so that you can check your registration. And then we've also worked with some of our municipalities, and we've held elections at some of their food festivals. We've participated now twice in Pints for Paws. And you could come and you could vote for the best beer, the best pet-friendly restaurant, the best blah, blah, blah. But it gets hands-on to the ballot. A couple weeks ago, we did a food truck festival in Longwood. And then this Saturday, we are doing a barbecue festival in Lake Monroe that is a very, very big barbecue competition. And we will have our voting equipment there so you can see it, you can have your hands on, and experience really what an election looks like. And it gives everyone the peace of mind that this is what the equipment looks like, this is the team that's working it. And for all of us, it's accessibility. We're here for you. We want you to reach out to us. We want you to ask the questions or have us present. We all talk to your church groups, your civics groups, and the Rotaries and all of those community groups, and we want that. So if you know of a group that you want us to come and out talk, no group is too small. That's more educated voters that we have out there, And so that has been our target over the past year and a half in Seminole County.
Right now, your offices are operating under current budget, which covers up until the primary, the August election, and then we have November. Are there any budget concerns moving into the new year?
Go ahead.
In case you don't know, all of our budgets are funded by the general fund, which comes from your property taxes. So I think the fear of all of us is when the state is talking about 100% eliminating property taxes, how does that affect your elections? And you need to be aware. That's where our funds come from. Our budgeting challenges this year have, we didn't go in thinking we were going to have budget challenges, and then state legislation happened and we had to flip and work petitions in a manner that we didn't have to work petitions for before, and that created extra budget constraint. Things happen that you don't anticipate, that you don't put in your budget, because we really all try to budget very conservatively. We're not out here creating these big, massive, crazy budgets. And it's challenging explaining a supervisor of elections budget from one year to the next, because it doesn't stay consistent. Because one year you have a primary election, the next year in that budget year you have a general election, and then you have some munis, and then the next year you don't have any elections, or you might, but you don't budget for congressional redistricting, you don't budget for special elections that might get vacated from a seat, you don't budget for legislative changes. And so explaining to not just your county commission, the variances of your budget from one year to the next, but also your community, does become a little challenging, because it's not, oh, our budget is 2% more than last year, or 3%, because that's what the cost of living increases, and et cetera, et cetera. It really changes because of what is going on at that time in our budgets or in our election cycle.
I agree. It's difficult to just maintain one level budget, because the state, the legislature can change the laws in the middle, or procedures in the middle of petition certification, and that then increases the need for additional staff and overtime, and then every budget cycle is a little different from the one before. So what we do is we budget for what we can see coming, and I know that the new legislation that will go into effect in January next year will have some consequences that will increase the need for more staff when we're talking about new voter ID laws and proving eligibility or citizenship, and how we communicate with people about that. So there are challenges that keep coming from the state that we don't always anticipate, and some we do. But luckily, our county commission and the mayor in Orange County are very supportive of what we do in our office.
And it really helps to have a county commission that is supportive of the work we do. And so I think I'm very fortunate to have a great county commission. The other thing that is hitting us in the face right now is some of us, because of the new maps that were just approved this week, that is an unknown cost that none of us have planned for.
Thank you for sharing that, and of course, let us know how we can support your efforts going into the new budget process. We're always here we want our elections to be fully funded. We do have a little bit of time before we open it up for questions from the audience. So it was mentioned earlier, list maintenance. And perhaps we can talk a little bit more about what is list maintenance, and what are some of the ongoing activities that are happening around that. Because folks in the room, you might have noticed that today there's not the same amount of registered voters that were for the 2024 general election. But there's processes that happen in between.
So list maintenance is an ongoing process that we're required to maintain an accurate voter roll list. And when you hear us say list maintenance, that is really making sure that your address is correct. If you've moved, your new address is updated, you're in the right districts, you're in the right precincts, all et cetera, your party affiliation is what you want it to be. In every off-cycle year, which is in a year that we don't have election, we're really required to do a larger list maintenance process. And I will talk as a new supervisor of elections. I wasn't comfortable with how my previous office had done list maintenance. I had mostly all new staff. And I looked at my voter rolls and I had 352,000 registered voters. And per statute, if you haven't voted in 2 elections, you have no activity, you can get put in an inactive list. And what I decided was, because of the unknown of how previous list maintenance had been done, I decided to reach out to 100% of my voters, not just about 60,000 who we identified would automatically get moved to inactive. Because I didn't know if they were students. I didn't know if they were in the military. I didn't know their cause of why they hadn't voted. And so it caused a lot of controversy because people received an address confirmation request that they'd never received before. But that was my way of making sure you are actively participating in the list maintenance process. And that resulted in me really only moving 14,000 people to the inactive list versus the 60,000 that we may have. It was a much better process for us. It was a much bigger process. Now going forward, I know that we worked 100%, and so I can do a much smaller process, but it involves us sending out mailers. We can't just change your voter registration willy-nilly. If we have Jimmy come in and say, my father passed away, can you remove him? We need a document. We need a death certificate. We need notification from the Department of Health. We need a notification from the DMV. Or we need a return piece of mail from the post office. And that's why you may get an address confirmation letter that you've never gotten before, because part of the process is getting that official return mail from the post office that allows us to start working and trying to track down where you are. And so that's a big part of what we do of that process, but our staff are every day working list maintenance. They're working files that come down from the state. When you go to the DMV and update your ID, we get notification from them. That's part of the process. It doesn't stop until 29 days before an election. Other than that, we are doing it 100% of the time.
The number one thing a voter can do for us to help us in the list maintenance area is, when you move, let us know. I always say that you tell your ex-husband, you tell the insurance company, you tell everybody but the supervisor of elections that you move. And so if everyone would update their address when they move with us, our workload would be greatly reduced. The list maintenance laws, the state has passed, they're much more stringent than they used to be. And so we're moving more voters to inactive status. And it always pains me when I get that email saying this many are being moved today to inactive. So, because when you're moved to inactive, we stop communicating with you. You're no longer going to receive a sample ballot or that notice to sign up for a mail ballot. So you're going to quit hearing from us, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to roll off eventually unless you go vote. And that's the other thing. If you don't want to tell us you changed your address, go vote.
We do a pretty comprehensive mailing address confirmation requests, and people can either confirm that they do live there and they send it back, a postcard back. Your voter registration is directly tied to your address. I mean, that's how we determine your polling place, what ballot you're going to get. So your address is one of the most important things that we have. And it is important to keep up with your voter registration. But if we send out the address confirmation request and no one is at that address with this name, then it comes back to our office as undeliverable. And then we process all of those and say, look, this person doesn't really live here. And then we send another letter out saying, we're about to remove you unless we hear from you. Please notify our office and make sure that we do not inactivate your registration. So there are a lot of steps that we go through before someone is moved to inactive. And also, if they are in inactive status and they go to the polls and vote, they're still allowed to vote, even if they're in inactive status. And then they're activated again.
Final question I have before we open it up to our audience is, how can organizations support your efforts?
I think amplifying our message. I think our 3 simple messages are your 3 ways to vote. Get that out to your organization membership, and then have everyone make a plan to vote, and then a backup plan, and then another backup plan. Have your vote by mail be your insurance for voting. You don't know if you're going to be in the hospital. You don't know if someone in your family will need you, or you're called away. If you have your vote by mail ballot, you can make sure that you drop it in the mail or come by before election day if there's a problem. But even if you don't plan to vote by mail, request your vote by mail. Know where the nearest early voting locations are. We're going to have those up on our website soon. And then make sure everyone has a plan to vote. They know where they're supposed to go.
Keep your address and signature current. Your signature is very important to us, and we do use it. We use it when you make a request for a mail ballot, for example. We use it when you sign a petition or when you vote by mail. So your signature is extremely important, and our signatures do change with age. When we're young, they're very scuttless. When you're elderly, they become very artistic. So please, keep that signature current. Let us know if you move or change your name.
And keep doing events like this, because it helps get us in front of the voters, helps get us in front of the community, and it helps getting our accurate information out. I think the biggest challenges that we all have is misinformation out there. And so by you helping to amplify our message, sharing our social media posts about the facts that come out, helps us kind of squash the rhetoric or the bad information out there. So keep amplifying and keep doing these kinds of events for us. So thank you.
We'll definitely take up on that invitation. Well, thank you all so much for sharing all your incredible knowledge about the process and what you're doing to make sure that our voters can have ease of access to the right to vote. We do have some time for questions from the audience. So let's see how we figure it out. Maybe if you can make a line, yeah. If you are able to and you can make a line, if not, we can bring it back.
Yeah, thank you.
I think it's off.
Thank you all so much for hosting this. I have 2 questions, quick one. I want to make sure I'm clear. I think Osceola County, you said for the vote by mail, we need to sign something. And Orange County said you can call. If we call, how do we sign? I'm a little confused. But
Yeah, you have more than one method.
Okay.
for
Oh, okay,
the-
okay.
More
Yeah,
as
that's what I
opposed to
make sure.
mail ballot.
Okay, it sounded like you said you had to have a form signed,
No, well, if you do it in writing, it has to be on a state form.
but we can do it by.
But you can do it by phone, which is definitely the easiest way.
Okay, I just wanna make sure, okay, I'm doing a session tonight, I wish I had this meeting before, I would love to have you.
Online.
Okay. This, you all touched on this a little bit about safety, but as a poll monitor, is there anything specific you would recommend we do if ICE agents come to the polls? I mean, I know people would be scared, but is there anything specific we should do this on?
I think in my office, we are having some discussions, and we're gonna be having further discussions with our sheriff's department and our operations and emergency partners. And we're working on a plan for that. But right now, it seems like one of our best bets is to work with election protection legal teams. And there'll be phone numbers that people can call about that. I think it's 866-OUR-VOTE, OURVOTE will connect you with a legal contact.
Hi, I have more of a suggestion. The information you gave about the inactive voter rolls was really good. And I know that on a lot of information, it says if you've moved, if someone in your household is moved, please notify the supervisor of elections. I think you actually need to put on there if someone in your household has died, to notify supervisor of elections and DMV, because I was the executive of state for both my sister and my dad. It never dawned on me to notify supervisor of elections or DMV. And so that would be some good information for everyone to have.
Thank you for that. Our office does eventually get that information from the Department of Vital Statistics, I believe, or the health department, but it doesn't hurt to let us know ahead of time.
Not an exact number, but can you tell us whether the ballots received after 7 p.m. on voting day, are we talking, tens or hundreds or thousands? I mean, how many ballots do you get that you can't even open and count? Just so we had some idea of what kind of problem it is. Is it not a big issue, or is
It is, we were talking about this today in our office. It is not a big issue. And most of them, if we look at the postmarks, they are mailed on election day. The post office is good, but they're not that good.
And one other little question. So anticipating the changes that go into effect on January 1, where you need to provide that documentary proof of citizenship, will that mean that only your office can register new voters?
No. Part of this process of the documentary proof of citizenship is taken care of at the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're doing the real ID compliance, citizens also have to provide their birth certificate. Where we see people kind of get caught up in the middle of that is if they have they've given some documents that they're a legal resident, but they're not a citizen. And then they later become a citizen before giving us the new documents. So then we have to do a little bit more research in between. But for the most part, most people who have their driver's license or Florida ID in Florida have already fulfilled that documentary proof of citizenship.
So then voter registration drives can still take place.
They definitely can still take place, and then on the back end, we will verify all those documentation.
Okay, thanks.
Good afternoon. With regard to the inactive voters, how long are they inactive before they're purged, and who makes that decision?
They can actually be active for up to 2 general election cycles. So it can take 4, sometimes 5 years, depending when they become inactive. So there is a long time in between before them being inactive and being removed from the rolls.
Who makes that decision?
It's statutory, the length of time.
Okay. So is it the supervisor of elections office that removes, or is it the department?
Yes, we remove and then notify the people who have been removed if we can, if we have their addresses.
With regard to the new congressional districts, have you received the map of how things are impacted? I'm an Orange County resident, so I'm concerned about Orange County. Have you received the actual maps?
I don't think we have, I don't know, you say yes, but I have only seen them. Okay, we got them yesterday.
Is it possible for us to get a copy of that map, especially for Orange County, because it appears that Orange County has been cut into 4 different congressional districts?
Yes, I believe we had 4.
Not that it was cut before, we've always had.
Or, yes, but,
They've been reduced in size.
yes,
Yes.
because,
So I'm sure you can get the maps because it's a public record,
because
so.
I live in East Orange County, and I couldn't tell from the map whether I'm in that or not, but I was told last Tuesday in Tallahassee, 160,000 residents of East Orange County are now in congressional district
8, yeah.
Thank you.
So we can provide that to you later, apparently.
And I will say in Seminole County Congressional District 7, our maps did not change. So if you are a Seminole County voter or Volusia County voter, your district did not change. So you will not have a different congressional candidate to vote for.
Well, thank you so much for this. Great afternoon, everyone. I drove over from Lake County, so I would have loved to see Hayes up here to hear some of the amazing things that you guys are doing. So thank you for that. Also, thank you for so plainly pointing out how these things directly affect your budget and the taxpayers' money. For instance, the gerrymandering, the illegal gerrymandering that's happening, the attack against citizen-led initiatives, when you talk about the petitions, and now about the Florida Show Me Your Slave Papers Act, which you all may call the SAVE Act. But thank you for pointing out how this directly affects your budgets and the taxpayers' dollars. What, if anything, are you doing to fight against this, and how can we help you in that fight?
Well, interestingly, our role is to be ministerial and neutral. And so we implement the laws as they are passed, and we don't take a position pro or against.
Even when they're harmful to your budget and
We can let people know the impact, and people can make a judgment, but it's not appropriate in our positions to fight against or for what the legislature has determined, or the governor's office, or the division of elections.
Thank you all so much for being here, for the transparency. My question's related to the first question, but a bit different. So immigration enforcement at the polls, right? It's a huge concern. But Florida's in a unique position because we have statewide 287G agreements, which means that local police has the authority to act as immigration enforcement. And so given that context, right, that local police all over Florida do have that authority, and local police might be called to a polling place for safety concerns. But also, you're all saying earlier that local police are confused about voting laws. So what efforts are you all doing to ensure that you're working with local law enforcement agencies to talk about the limitations of their presence at polling places when it comes to potentially interfering with voting law, right? And actually acting out, as immigration enforcement.
Those are part of upcoming conversations and ongoing conversations that we have, but we will be making sure that stance is communicated, because that is a concern. How do we make sure the roles are clear and that the voters are the ones who we make sure we're protecting their right to the ballot? So My interactions with our local law enforcement has always been positive when I've talked to them about the limits and on election day. It's just making sure that everyone in those roles also understand that, and they're committed to making sure that they communicate that. But I hear what you're saying, and I will make sure that we continue to push that message.
Is that the same commitment from the other two counties? And also just to name, there are a lot of families who, might be of mixed status and people who's, they're naturalized citizens. And also there's a lot of error with immigration enforcement. Even here in Florida, US citizens have been taken in and held under ICE custody. So it's a huge concern for voters who are eligible voters. And I hope that's communicated to law enforcement, to local police. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. First, I want to just thank you for being such dedicated supervisors, and the concern for fair elections is obvious in your output today. And as a registered voter, I feel more comfortable hearing some of the measures that you have in place to be ready for election 2026. I am concerned about just the vote by mail, lack of public awareness, and I love the vote mobile exposure, but is there room in your budget for more PSAs, public service, announcements about the issue, so that voters will be aware? And for community outreach groups, we try to share that information, but I don't see a lot of it on television or in the media. And is there going to be efforts coming towards that?
I know that for Orange County, we have increased our budget around spending for communications and advertising around the election time. It increases as we get closer to election day, but we do have increased our budget and our outreach to include, billboards, radio, TV, more mail outs, and all sorts of things, and social media. So we do have a robust plan, but we could always, use more money, but to really saturate, the county. So we will continue to just, when people ask, what should we do, what kind of message, just keep saying the same three things. Know how to request your vote by mail, know what's required, know how easy it is to vote in your pajamas, and other things like people can, I remember when I was campaigning, I met a woman who said that she was the grandmother and she gave herself the assigned role of being in charge of everybody's vote by mail. And she made sure that all of her grandchildren who were away in college voted by mail, and they had to prove it by taking a picture and sending it to her, or they were not invited to Thanksgiving dinner. So we can be creative and encourage more to it than just, vote by mail, but maybe vote by mail and have a, Sunday dinner with your family at home and talk about it together, so there are other things we can do to be more creative.
We all get our information today differently, and so we try to use creative venues that maybe we haven't thought about in the past. We advertise on buses, in movie theaters, on billboards, on radio, which I didn't think anyone listened to anymore, but I'm amazed. Streaming at the Wawa while you're getting your gas. So different ways to help people learn about elections. But the problem is trying to fit everybody in the same shoe just doesn't work anymore.
Similar, we're doing much of the similar things. We actually had a meeting, my team, Wesley has become in charge of his vote by mail and his family. He does the same thing. You need to prove to me you've signed up for your vote by mail. But we had a meeting with our county last week so that we could do advertisement on SGTV. So for the county website, you'll start seeing some messaging there. We've also contracted with a digital billboard on the corner of I-4 and 434, so you'll start seeing important election facts there. We're intend to partner with the new Scout transportation system. So if you're riding in there, they have digital messaging on the back of the headrests. And then for our budget was due to be submitted a week and a half ago. And so for the next election cycle, we actually started a plan to start marketing and advertising out to our voters a year early to make sure that they're aware. Now you have a whole year and a half to request your vote by mail, but let's get it done so that you're not waiting until it doesn't show up in your mailbox and then you have to go vote in person. So, but it's helpful for your community groups to share those messages, to share our websites where you can call, where you can fill out an application online, or to help get the applications out so that they can get out to the right people. And I'm going to address the Lake County voter in here. We are part of a district group of supervisors of election, which includes Lake County, Brevard, Volusia. And we have started the process of reaching out to our media partners to do something very similar, where we have a round table and can get out accurate information, answer questions, or get out information. So you'll see Alan Hayes, Supervisor Hayes, at that event as well.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having this panel. My question is two-pronged, but centers around the same answer. It's around the lag time or the amount of time it takes for someone to get their new voter registration card. So two things. One is a personal experience. My driver's license number changed. I came here to this office. Early voting was going on at the time, so that's the time frame. Changed everything. Everything was great. I still haven't got my card. I did call in. Two-part question. I did call in and I got a letter saying it was on the way. Never gotten a letter like that before, and it's like, that's a new thing you guys are doing, so great. And I was told that you basically wait till you have a batch of cards to send out. So, but I still haven't gotten it. Now, my next question, same thing, same question. Organizations like Rock the Vote, When Everybody Votes, Vote.org, when people use that to register to vote, what's the lag time on that? Like, what's going on the back end of that? Does that form go to the state and then trickle down to you? So that's even more time built in. So that's my question, time. Thank you.
I can address your voter information card. You're right that we wait for a batch to print and send. And if we can get your name, we can look you up and see if it's been sent. But I do know that there was a big batch that was just sent, right? But yes, yeah, Lucy can help. And then I don't know the answer to your question. Do you know the answer to the?
Yes.
She knows.
Yes, the applications from those organizations do go up to the state, and the state puts them in the system. They do all the vetting, the comparison to DHS&B, and then they push them down through our systems to us. I will say those organizations, including here, many of you in here, one of the things that would be very helpful to us is if you are doing a mass mailing to voters, to give us a heads up. We sometimes are in the middle of our own list maintenance big process, and then another organization will send out a mailing, and we will get a lot of phone calls with confused voters. And so if we have a heads up that you've done this, we can do extra communication, and we can maybe up staff to have more people to answer the phones when those calls come in. We have seen organizations that unfortunately will get a year-old list from the state. And as we know, a lot of things can happen. We're in a very transient community. People move a lot. And so you may have gotten a reminder to register to vote, and you just moved into your house, and this is for someone that lived there 6 months ago. And so it would help us if community groups let us know when they're doing mailers so that we can be better prepared on our end.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much for having this session. It's been very, very helpful. I have kind of a technical set of questions here. One has to do with ballot tracker. Does that have the ability to notify people when their absentee ballot or vote by mail ballot is not accepted? Okay, so do they tell them why, like, and what to do next? Okay, all right. I was just curious because I've had people say that they found out, but it was too late for them to get it together to cure the ballot. So, okay. The next one, I also do poll working. So I'm wondering if we can change the voter's driver's license or state ID when they vote in person, like we do their address.
No, I think you can update your address at the polls, but I think that's all you can change.
You can fill out a voter registration application while you're there, and then we would process that later to update.
Okay, so they would technically be registered already.
Right.
So that would just be a change, but, okay, well, that was something that I was wondering, right?
And that's unfortunately when we tell you that we need a new application to change your driver's license, we need a new application. It's that new application overrides whatever information you've changed in the system. So that's a big confusion to people out there. We tell them I just want to update, you still have to fill out a new application. That's that's the law.
Hi, thank you so much, Renee, for the Farm Workers Association of Florida. Just like to say two things. One, I'd like to reiterate the concern that the gentleman faced about the immigration enforcement, especially by Latino voters who are concerned with racial discrimination as they're driving either to work or to go vote. But my question is, I'm actually from Apopka, and we had an election there. And I know this is a little bit, past the date, but a concern that we got from a lot of residents, if you've ever seen a map of Apopka, the zoning, it's very odd in that you can have one street that's technically City of Apopka and the other one is Orange County. And a lot of people went in to vote very excited, we're gonna vote for the new mayor, and it turns out they're not zoned and they can't vote. Have you heard any of these concerns in any of these other counties or in Orange County, other municipalities? And if so, is there any strategies to try to educate the community of how to find out, can I vote for this place or not?
We do hear that concern in Seminole County as well. And it is hard to communicate that. It's on your voter ID, where you vote, where you can vote. But there's also the voter responsibility of knowing that as well. And we try to educate you when we're out at community events or when we're sending out your voter ID card or when we're sending out a notice of elections. Make sure you look at where you can vote. Polling location changes affect those too.
The municipal elections, even though our office contracts with the municipalities to actually perform the actual tabulation and creation of the ballot, the communication often about the election and where you are located is up to the municipality. So I think our office will let you know more about countywide elections, but if it's a city, then it's usually up to that city to inform the residents and their communication.
And I'm an Apopka voter too, and my next door neighbor behind me is in Orange County. One of the things that people don't realize that the municipalities can annex a piece of property, and there's a lot of annexation going out throughout the years. So those annexations can take portions or whole neighborhoods and leave other portions alone, and that's where it causes major confusion. A lot of people, and then of course your zip code, it says Orlando, Florida, right? Well, a lot of people think they live in Orlando, Florida, but they're in unincorporated Orange County, so they have to know a little bit about the numbers.
And voter information card, if I may also, for Orange County, will provide the municipality. So if they live within the municipal boundaries, it will let them know what municipality they're in. If they're not, it would be unincorporated. So that's another tool that they can use as voters to look at their voter information card and be able to determine that. or online on our website, they can always look up and see what are their district's representations, including if they fall within or outside of.
Thank you everyone for coming today. This has been quite informative. My question has to do with registering to voters. To piggyback on that question before, you said if they, as long as they have a real ID or real driver's license, they're good. But what if they don't have either one of those? And the reason I'm asking is because as the League of Women Voters, we go into a lot of high schools and register and pre-register students to vote, and a lot of them don't have that. So will we be able to keep doing that and register them? Or do they have to have citizenship proof with them? Or how is that going to work? Because we do that, as you know, Cameron, we do that an awful lot. And it would be a shame to have to give that up.
I can only imagine that they will have to have their ID, their driver's license at the time, starting in January.
So we need
Or
to
the
educate the students to
Yes.
get the driver's license or ID, Florida ID,
Yeah.
as soon as possible.
And that's something that we can do with the school district and educating them about the importance of pushing out that message to go ahead and get your driver's license or your ID early, as soon as you can, because a lot of kids don't these days, but yeah, back in my day, you turned 16, you were there.
Thank you so much.
Hi everybody, Sergio from Engage Florida. Thank you for being here. I'm curious because I know in Seminole you mentioned when you stepped in, you recognized the underperformance in certain areas. So we operate with the intention of trying to engage people, educate them, and get them to turn out. And we have our own sources of data from a myriad, but we believe you guys have the best source of like who's registered, who's not, and who we need to follow up with. I'm curious, we operate largely in Orange, so I'm curious, is there a way that we can coordinate with your offices in each county in terms of determining what are the best areas that we can target, right? We want to target everywhere, but at least in your respective counties, understanding where do you see the underperformance, how can we support, because you might be doing the registration, we do registration, but we talked about the tactics of how to support your amplifying the message, but how about targeting those areas? How can we support with supplementing manpower? You have the ambassadors, but we also have manpower and kind of do a coordinated strategy there. Is there any way we can support with those ways?
Make appointments, let's come on in,
Yes.
make it happen.
Right, I would be able to sit down with some members of my staff and we could talk about different areas that that have lower turnout and maybe talk about why that is.
We agree. I mean, we can tell you, who turns out historically and who doesn't.
Beautiful. Well, follow up with y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Genesis, with me from Media Acción. My question is, what are your outreach efforts to attract the participation of Spanish-speaking future voters?
Osceola County, more than 50% of our voters are identify as Hispanic. If you invite us, we will be there. We have a half of our staff is bilingual, so we are able to communicate. Everything that we produce in our office is translated in both languages. We don't use Google. We have live people translating it to make sure that it's good Spanish. And so our website, we are extremely proud of because every page, we have basically two websites. We have an English and a Spanish website. Every page is translated. So everything we do is done to outreach to the Hispanic community.
And we also have a number of our staff are bilingual and speak a variety of languages. A lot of our materials are also translated into Spanish, and we have started a new partnership with Univision as well so that we can help get out the message regularly.
All of the same. In Seminole County, for the first time ever, we are actually going to provide a I voted sticker in Spanish. And for whatever reason, we're required to have Spanish speakers in all the polling locations, but their badge said I speak Spanish in English, and we are changing that to be in Spanish. But my ask of you is to help engage your Spanish voters in the process. That is one of our biggest struggles, is finding people who want to be a poll worker. They're long hours, it's a full day, but we need them. And so if you can help engage your voters to get into that process so that we can make sure we're covered in all of our polling locations, that would be greatly appreciated.
Perfect, thank you. Thanks again for being here, we really appreciate it. Thanks to Ricardo for shepherding this process, we really appreciate it. Karen, I know you mentioned about the safety on election day and the concerns about ICE, which I think we all share. As a poll worker, I'd like to share a perspective that I think is growing, of increasing concern, and that's with the poll workers. Safety there, because we know there's been a lot of folks that from time to time have not felt safe. Now, I'm not saying in this community, but I'm just saying globally. I will tell you, one time when I was a poll worker, we had a deputy sheriff show up at the beginning of the shift and was there till the end and actually helped escort the live ballots to pick up. And at first I thought, this was like in 2023, and I thought, what the heck is that person doing here? You know, because I hadn't seen it before. And for whatever reason, he was there. And as we've gone through the last couple of years, it's like, man, we were fortunate to have that person there just as a resource. So I know with 265 precincts, that's a lot of law enforcement resources to be at every precinct. But something to think about too is just having a vehicle there. Like we see at school, sometimes there's nobody in the vehicle, but it's there, and it's just a reminder. But I would just say for the safety, not only of our voters, but also of our poll workers, as you talk to law enforcement, just if you could bring that up, concerns there. And like I said, not only being there all day, and just hopefully heading off any potential, but also transporting those live ballots to drop off so that they get to where they need to be appropriately and safely. Thank you for that.
Thank you. I hear your concern about poll worker safety, and we are going to look at it closer before our training to make sure that we address those concerns and share information about how to keep yourselves safe and the election process. And we're also concerned. I mean, it's a tricky situation where you want the law enforcement presence to feel safe, but at the same time, other people don't feel safe when they have the law enforcement presence. So there are ways to thread that needle carefully so that it doesn't become a voter intimidation presence. So it's hard to navigate because both concerns are real.
Well, and I think for the three mama bears up here, safety is our utmost concern. You know, our poll workers generally are 65 and older, so you're in a different stage of life. We're in a politically hot era right now. We're all looking at ways to make sure we are addressing the volatility and the safety of everyone that comes into the polling location and how to head it off. Thank you.
If you've been moved to the inactive status, then what? I know I'll be working in the community, and if I talk to someone who has actually been removed to the inactive status, do they then have to re-register, or does it depend on where they are in the inactive status process? Because they haven't been purged yet.
Very good question. You can call any one of our offices and verify your address and it puts you right back into the active status. You can vote. You can sign an address confirmation request. You can request your vote by mail. Any of those will take you out of the inactive and put you right back in the active status.
That's great to know. Yeah.
I've seen your.
Thank you. I have one more question, and that is, I know me, I like to vote. I do early voting, early voting, and I'll get my ballot. I'll bring it, usually bring it to this office for early voting. How many days, now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I need, thinking about what I've heard on SOE, and I think I might have heard it today. I know the date stamp matters. It needs to be stamped before the date. Actually, now here you have to have it by 7 p.m. Is that correct? By that
Yes.
Yes.
same day, election day.
You have to have it, the ballot in our office by 7 o'clock on election day. And that's the way it has been. I know, but in other states, it's different. So people who are moving from other states may not understand that the postmark doesn't really matter. You have to have the ballot in our office.
I didn't realize that per se. But I always got it in or wanted it in to the office. And I am a number one voter. But really should not. Okay. And then just how many days do you think? If you're talking to somebody, they have their ballot, they want to go, you think 5 days would be enough, or tell them it's 10 or what? So 10?
Organizationally, we prefer 10,
I know it's okay.
just to not wait too much.
I'm seeing 8, and I think a week is enough, but 8 is enough.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. My name is Marilyn Baldwin. I'm a resident of Orange County, and I want to ask each of you, what efforts are you making to reach out to voters with disabilities? And can you please make sure when you do your poll worker training that the machine that assists voters with visual disabilities, and any type of disability that wishes to use the assisted voting machine, that the staff knows how to work the machine. Thank you so much for what you do to reach out to all voters.
Well, we've enjoyed having meetings with people in our county who are part of the disability community and making sure that we hear the concerns. We have gone through our polling places and have completed the ADA surveys. And I was a part of some of those surveys, and I know that they were informative because sometimes the buildings that we've used, the access changes or they've moved the rooms around. So just seeing that a door is now too heavy that they want to use to enter, and we let them know that that's not an appropriate door, or we provide assistance for a ramp through a doorway. Or we add more disabled parking spaces. We have gone through all of those and feel pretty good about access at our polling places. And making sure that when we train our poll workers that they do understand how to use the express vote machine. I know in Palm Beach County, they use the express vote machines for early voting for all of their voters. So I think maybe not using it just for people who may have some disabilities, but let them know that it's universal. Anyone can use it, may help kind of educate people.
Very, very similar outreach for us. We've been meeting with disability groups from our Seminole County area to make sure we're hearing the challenges that we've experienced in our county in the past and that we're addressing them. We have not started our training, but we're embedding ADA training in to make sure that we're addressing all of these issues. And then this morning, we just approved our ADA vote by mail return ballot so that if you choose to vote by mail, we'll have a little punch hole in the ballot envelope so you know where to put your thumb, so you know where to sign. It's all the way down at that level. We are looking to make sure that all of our voters, including those with disabilities, have access to vote in the way they want to.
And I just want to encourage all of you, if you run into a problem when you're voting and early voting on election day, let us know. Sometimes the message doesn't get back to us when y'all encounter problems. And the best way for us to address that is to know about it. You don't have to call us on election day. You could wait a day or two, but please let us know.
Thank you very much.
Hello. As counties with collegiate presences like Seminole State, UCF, Valencia, are there any efforts being made to create nonpartisan and neutral partnerships with these universities and outreach to students on campus who are first-time voters, especially somewhere like UCF that has a polling location on its campus?
I know we do outreach on Seminole State. We use them as our polling locations too. We've actually had conversations with, oh my God, his name just got out of my head, but now he's retired. Fred Kittinger at UCF to do a combined voter outreach between Orange. We would invite Osceola and Seminole for the students down there, but we're consistently trying to reach out to the SGA groups out there as well to get them involved in the process so that they understand their duty as voters as well.
We have a new voting location on UCF campus, and we chose that site in partnership with UCF, and we believe that it will increase access for a large number of the students and residents around UCF. It's a little different, it's a little farther away than where they were at Live Oak Center, but I think it's a more accessible place. Okay. And we also are going to partner with UCF and I don't remember Austin, where he works with Fred, but they have the ability to communicate. We can use their email system and however they communicate from the university to the students to help us get out the message about where the polling location is, what kind of ID you're going to need, and when it's open. And so we're hoping to really circumvent some of the previous problems we've had out there with this enhanced communication.
Thank you. And along the same lines, you were mentioning how poll workers are usually, tend to be older adults. Like, is there any efforts being made to work with also campuses and students to be more enticed and more inclined to be poll workers or to be volunteers at these locations?
We do. We have a young population for our poll workers. I think it's 52.
Our average age is 58.
58. And they're talking about 65. We encourage young people to become election workers. First of all, our voters love seeing young people working the polls. We have promoted it through our Adopt a Precinct program that they can earn money for their organization or their sports team. And so we have a lot of young people working, and we're talking from 16 out, working our election sites, or early voting sites. Our Valencia campuses are both 100% commuter, so we tried to have a early voting site on the largest Valencia campus, and it just didn't work. Parking was a nightmare, and we were disappointed. So, but we do really reach out not only to our college population, but our high school population that have been working polls.
And my office did do a college tour earlier this year, where we went to all the different colleges in the area and did voter registration drives and information as well.
Thank you guys.
Okay. Well, we are at time, so once again, please join me in thanking our amazing city officers. Thank you so much for everything you're doing, for being here, for sharing with us. And rest assured that we will be reaching out throughout the rest of the cycle. So, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you all for coming, I appreciate it. And I learned a lot listening to my colleagues here. I took notes on some things that they're doing and I'm like, oh, we can do that too. So this is beneficial for us as well. Thank you.